I lied. In fact, my entire life is a lie. It turns out that despite my YouTube moniker, I've actually been a luthier all along. What? Not only have I been repairing guitars for more than 10 years, I've also been making them. But even though I make guitars, I don't always end up finishing them. And that is why today is the first episode of our new series, The Final Mile.
The Final Mile.
Or Final Kilometer.
The Final Kilometer.
Where I take instruments that are 90 to 95% done.
90% done.
And I bring them the rest of the way to 100%. So let's find out the story with this bass.
In 2019, I answered a classified ad. Somebody was selling a load of rosewood, and I asked if I could come see it. In his basement, he had piles and piles of this wood with lots of moisture coming in and lots of rat droppings on top of everything. And so I risked hantavirus to search through it, and the guy handed me a few pieces and said, check it out, let me know if you want more. I went back a second time and we arranged that I would try to sell it for him, try to make it into backs and sides and fretboards and various other components that people might like to buy. And it turns out I couldn't sell any. You can't get this stuff anymore. It is critically endangered. I don't like to use it because of that, but it's already sitting there in this basement, and I just started working with the stuff that I had. So I had this one board, pretty narrow, wide considering, but I wanted to make a one-piece instrument, and so I sketched out a bass on it. Then I just started cutting. I went out, I may have used a jigsaw. I don't think I had a reliable bandsaw at the time. I had a 1940s bandsaw that didn't really cut straight, and I started doing some layouts and started testing some pickguard shapes and pickup options. I ended up cutting out a couple of pickguards, one out of red plexiglass, one out of maple. Turns out I still have these. #hoarder. But then I decided to take a different route with the whole design, and I decided to make a giant pill-shaped pickup and cut that shape out of the fretboard as well. The ebony I used for the fretboard had a little vein of lighter wood through it, so I decided to put my marker dots in that vein, and I cut them out of solid brass rod. Then I decided I wanted more clearance on the treble side to get better access to the fretboard, and I cut some various bevels into the headstock, as well as cutting out what turned out to be a phallus shape, which I would later adjust. Then I started making this tailpiece out of brass, but it turned out to be much too thin. Still got that too. But it was coming together nicely. I was enjoying the overall aesthetic and design. I made a template to route out the cavity for the electronics, and this is how that turned out. It's very minimal, can just barely fit in mini pots. As it turns out, they fit so minimally that they get in the way of stringing the bass up, which is kind of ridiculous. And we just kept carving the neck, sanding, beveling. I got distracted many times while making it. I made this one-piece electric banjo, and I made this tenor guitar, and various other things. And then a strange event occurred in the spring of 2020 when I was almost done, and I got supremely distracted and it went by the wayside. And that brings us to today. And today is the day we finally finish this bass.
And that is going to start with collecting the parts from wherever they might be. So let's get to it. So 5 years ago, I bought a piece of square brass stock, like tubing, to use as the conduit for the wiring for this bass. And it's been floating around. I see it every month, and now I want it, and I have no idea where it is. So I've just been shoveling around, cleaning, to no avail. And it's not just a loose piece of square stock, it's in its packaging, so frig. Okay, but now the other piece missing is the coils from inside the pickup, because I had them bagged and tagged and... Okay. I'm 99% sure they're not in here. Yeah, still not. I really don't want to have to wind 2 more coils. The bad news is they're 2 small black rectangles in a small plastic bag. The good news is this forces me to keep cleaning, which is probably necessary. I swear I kept them in here for like 3 years. Okay, it's even messier, but I found them. For these pickups, I salvaged some D'Armond Hershey bar pickup magnets and wound the coils approximately to the same resistance as D'Armond Hershey bars. Essentially, I made a pair of them into a humbucking pickup. These are not the same 2 coils you saw earlier in the video. Those 2 were too thick, and I think one of them had a splice in the coil, which I don't find acceptable. So I made 2 new ones, and these ones are perfectly level. So once it's mounted, they will be concealed completely. And they measure 4K ohms and 3.76K ohms for no reason other than that's how they turned out. And now I'm going to wire the 2 pickups in series. I like to use a little piece of copper tape to connect my leads because it takes solder really well. And now I'll quickly double check. We should have about an 8K reading here. Now that the coils are in series, 7.93. Excellent. Now we will add leads and be ready to go. But I spoke too soon. I am not ready to wire the leads because first I need to decide how long they need to be and how they'll be wired, because I may use the copper conduit as the ground. Did I say copper? I meant brass, of course. So I don't need this full length, but this is what it would look like. Of course, I would inlay it into the back. I'm not sold on the aesthetic of it. Maybe it would be better on the top. So it would just be a brass stripe from under the pickup to under the bridge. Under the bridge downtown. Actually, the more I think about it, the less necessary it seems to actually inlay it. I could have it just surface mounted, going under the pickup and under the bridge. It's the same height as this is thick, and so I would have to cut a slot in this, which would not be that easy because it's heavy brass, but then I do not need to risk routing the soundboard, which is not a soundboard. Routing the top, which is already finished. Okay, now I'm quickly going to mark the center lines because I want it to be centered exactly to where the strings are. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing indeed. I'll make sure I get the angle in there so I can transpose it. This is what we need to cut out of the pickup. And we'll do the same thing on the bridge, except for it will be a straight line. After scoring the lines with a scalpel, I deepen them with this serrated knife. It's super sharp and for some reason does a great job. I think it has something to do with filleting fish, not really sure. Then I move on to this flush cutting saw because it's my saw with the narrowest kerf. Nice nut.
Macadamia nut.
A quick mock-up. All right, clamped this biznatch over here to the bench, and now I'm going to start filing away a slot. The hardest part is getting it started.
That's what she said.
Because I don't want to slide side to side and not get it straight. And of course we're using a file that's narrower than the tube stock so that we have room for error. Slowly piecing together some copper tape to fill this cavity, and then we can reassemble. I get this copper tape at the hardware store. It's for keeping slugs out of your garden. And I wear gloves so that I don't cover it with tarnishing fingerprints. One thousandth mock-up. It was a tight squeeze, but I managed to get this braided insulated wire through. And so that's what I'll use. That will double the grounding to the metal components. All right, I taped it all up. I've got basically a complete Faraday cage to go around the pickups and here, and now I can wire them in, and the cover will be removable. With the pickups, I will tape to the copper tape, I believe. In an absolutely hilarious miscalculation, I didn't get this rod length correct, and now I either have to cut the rod with the wire inside, which would be nearly impossible, or file more off of this. So that's what I'm gonna have to do. And now I'm doing this ramp for clearance of the braided wire. See what I mean? Now we're good. I don't know if I mentioned, but I am omitting the potentiometers and going straight to the jack. And now a final check to make sure everything's going. 7.8K, perfect. Keen-eyed observers will notice that the resistance of the pickup varies. I have heard that this is largely due to temperature, but there are probably other factors involved. Anyway, back to it. I was finding the action a little on the low side, so I am going to veneer it 3 times white, black, white, and then cut it down to size. Okay, time to take out that bridge and install it, and then I can put strings, and then it might be done. Isn't that crazy? 5 years. 5 years this has been sitting, waiting for its final details. And now, hopefully we're there. Cutie. I realize I still haven't done anything with these holes. Like maybe I need a brand plate here. Oh, you can see I made sort of a Hofner style bridge where the pole pieces are pieces of fret wire. Not the pole pieces, the saddles. And I just cut the ends off this piece of ebony, slotted it, and then put the ends back on. This is the intonation pattern I remember being there, but it might be a little different now that we've got some height. The strings might ring out a little sharper with a little higher action. I'd tell you the brand of strings I'm using, but they didn't sponsor me yet, so you can figure it out. They're flat wounds, they're short scale, they've got blue thread on them. Now I know these Gibson Firebird / banjo tuners aren't for everybody, but the progenitor to this headstock design was just the idea of using these incorrectly, mounting them at a 90-degree angle from where they're supposed to be mounted. And this is what we came up with. You know, it goes with the general Art Deco theme, but love it or hate it, it's what we got.
All right, let's play this thing.
I'm thinking about just putting these on as deletes for now. Should we fuzz?
Of course.
Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll play a complete song with the bass in it. But in the meantime, a message from my sponsor, myself. 1 year ago today, I walked down to my local beach, traversed some old stairs, and set to work looking for an appropriate piece of wood to make a guitar. I only had 2 hours and 20% battery, but I managed to cobble together a lap steel and my very first YouTube video.
And I even made one of those really stupid YouTuber faces.
Since then, I've managed to cobble together 42 full-length videos, butt ton of shorts, and get shadow banned 3 times. What'd you find? What'd you get? Part of a fish, it looks like. And so now, I'm back on the workbench that started it all. With Buggy, of course. He's a good boy. To thank each and every one of you that have watched and subscribed and made this all worthwhile. And especially thanks to those who have supported me through my Patreon and become channel members. It really means a lot. And so, to all of you, I lift a cup of coffee and say a heartfelt thank you. Here's to many more. I do put dozens of hours into every video, and the ROI is pretty minimal. So if you appreciate what I do here, even if you don't like it, take the 1 second and subscribe. It's free, it won't hurt you, and it will help me. So thank you. So the final mileometer is going to be a recurring series because I have several instruments that I have not finished, and the next one could well be this project I'm going to show you the drawing of in a second. See this? It's an electric tenor guitar, and I thought that I could pull off this swan neck / toilet trap neck joint, and as soon as I cut that, it was floppy as hell, so I knew I had to fix it. And you'll see exactly what I had to do, all the work I had to do to stick this back together after I cut it apart in the next episode. Okay, pals, since this is the 1 year anniversary of my YouTube channel, I figured what better way to celebrate than to record a song with this, the first instrument that I built for this channel, and the newest, the bass. So I'm going to put together a little arrangement of lap steel and bass, and a little bit of tickling the old, what is that thing? Uvula. I'm going to tickle my uvula, or hopefully I tickle you with my uvula.
to put your fears away. I am here to stay. For a while.
All the cool kids, L and S.
100% cool kids are Ellen and Essie.
Every time you don't L or S, I'm gonna cut the face off of you.
You understand me?